Welcome to Up to So Good, the podcast that unlocks the secrets of creating a purpose-driven business so we can all make this world a better place. Come join the conversation. Hello and welcome to Up to So Good, the podcast that explores the purpose of business. We don't often think about the impact of the colors we wear. That's right, the environmental impact of the pigments that dye the fabrics we wear. But the truth is, in the processing of these chemicals, there's quite a bit of negative impact made. And in fact, as you wear certain colors against your skin, they might be harmful to your health. So basically, that red sweater that you love, that favorite red sweater, might be giving you cancer. Yeah, I have no idea if that's true. However, in this episode, we talked to Roya Aghighi, who's the founder and CEO of Lite-1. It's a company that is devoted to creating sustainable and less harmful dyes using microorganisms. We explore all the different ways that the earth is actually rich and abundant in natural ways and healthy ways to dye one's fabric. So stay tuned and enjoy. Hello and welcome to Up to So Good, the podcast that explores the purpose of business. And today I'd like to introduce our guest, Roya Aghighi. Did I say that right?
That's
not
correct.
really.
Yeah. No,
How would you say your name?
It's Aghighi. You actually nailed it.
But you have like the way to say it.
Yes. So I'm originally from Iran. So the correct pronunciation is Aghighi. But
beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to have you on our show. Thank you for joining us, Roya. And Roya is the CEO of a company called Lite-1.
Yes.
And Lite-1 is a very interesting company. You're specializing in, and I might not be saying this right, but my understanding, just based on some research, it's like biodegradable, but also sort of alive colors that using microbes that people can then use in paint and fashion. And is that correct?
Yes.
Basically like biodegradable paints.
It is correct.
Ink.
So I guess in order for it to make sense why we are doing what we do, I have to give you a little bit of a brief overview of why colors in general. So the colors all around us, regardless in your clothes, in the food that we consume, in the drinks,
we're talking
anywhere.
About all the colors, like food dye,
exactly,
and clothing dye. Yes,
all of it: paints, ink, cosmetics, even in our beauty products. You'd be surprised to know that the colorants are everywhere. Even when you think like, oh, this doesn't have a color, there is some sort of a colorant in it. So
like a color has been added to it.
Yes, in the formulation. And again, like we can talk a little bit about like whys and the psychology of why we actually need colors and everything. But other than that, like the conventional way of like using these colorants in the world is extremely toxic. So first foremost, most of these colorants are created or made from petroleum-based resources, which is, in other words, like just oil.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Like even clothing, like the color of my outfit. Oh, really?
Yes.
The gray too?
The gray too. And you want to even make you a little bit more scared?
Sure.
Even the colors that we put in our food and eat are also made from petroleum as well.
The food dyes.
Yeah.
They're made from... Wow. Unless it's like natural coloring, right? Because I think in Canada we have quite a few regulations. And I say this because this is so funny. Just the other day, I came across this, I think it was a social media post on, I hope I'm allowed to say this, but I came across a cereal. I won't say the name of the cereal. Very popular cereal that is bright and colorful.
Yep.
And this guy took one box that's the Canadian version and the American version. And the Canadian version was not that bright, but the food coloring that they used were from blueberries and raspberries and such. Whereas the American version, they had chemical names like Red 47 or Yellow 10. Those colors are made from petroleum products?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
And, like I always find it a little bit based on the trends of information. So, that post actually I shared on my LinkedIn as well.
Oh, you know which one I'm talking about, right?
Yes. If you want to go, if for the listeners, if they want to find it out, they can actually check it on my LinkedIn as well. And that is correct. Like, in Canada, but I don't like to even say that because it really depends on which part of the country we are from. And like, especially in the States, like, California has a lot like stricter regulations and mandates.
Do?
Yeah. And they're doing a really good job, but like a lot of other states don't. And the same colorants that we are talking about, like the Red 50, for example, that's
I made that up
extremely.
before. Was I right?
That is
there's
correct.
there's a red 50?
Yes.
Okay. What is red
That's
50?
a group of colorants that are extremely toxic. They cause a lot of like health issues and whatnot. And
Oh, really?
it's interesting that they've been banned in Europe, especially UK, for over 20 plus years.
Are we allowed to have them in Canada?
We used to, and now recently they're getting like eliminated. But
So is that just food
it's definitely
dye?
not 20 years that they've been banned.
Is this red 50 food dye or is that also clothing
Yes.
dye?
I mean, like it's more in food present, but also like, when we talk about the clothing colorants and dyes, they're also very horrible as well. And that's why, I mean, that's not just the only reason that why I started what I'm doing, but that's one of the reasons of seeing firsthand what they're doing to the environment and the health of humans and workers, even people that live around those facilities, because the residues of these dyes, because of our desires, end up in rivers, and a lot of people living in those neighborhoods and areas rely on those waters as drinking water.
Right.
And as a result of that, there has been over the past 10-15 years, there's been multiple reports of rare diseases and health issues that are just popping up. So the impacts of our aesthetic desires,
Our desire for color.
they're very, very deep.
Okay, they're deeply negative towards us as people, our drinking water, our planet. And so, I mean, the list goes on and on about everything has color to it.
Everything.
So you're saying that a lot of this is
Yep,
additive colors, and most of it comes from petroleum products.
for sure.
Right?
Yep.
Interesting.
So as you were kind of like alluding to it, food industry obviously has to be a little bit more careful, but even the things, the ingredients that, there's so many that they're very scary to know that they're still in our food and they're approved by
What about
FDA.
makeup?
What? Oh, yeah, same thing.
Is that approved? I mean, are these colors in our makeup, are they approved or not approved? Or?
They are approved. Essentially, like, it's not necessarily that every single color is going to, in beauty and food, obviously there are a lot more regulation. It becomes about the amount and volume of these colorants that are used in each product. And there's a lot of more vigorous testings that need to be done to get them approved. But at the end of the day, they are synthetic.
It's interesting because, we don't think about it that much. And we often are wearing, of course, clothing against our body that is colorful. And I mean, I don't know about you. I just put some more lipstick on. And I like my lipstick products. And, you were saying like red 50 is toxic.
Yeah.
And I wonder how many people are putting on literally red 50 on their lips every single day. The makeup that we use has color.
Yeah, and it's not just about the reds. There is like a very interesting group of yellows and the caramel colors that they have very scary like ingredients that are making those colorants.
Hair dye,
like and you name it. So you put it really beautifully, as a matter of fact, because one of the things that was extreme, like tipped me over the edge, essentially, like to take this leap of starting my own business and startup, was the fact that it goes back to human psychology as well, but we only care about the things that are in front of our eyes. So if there is any specific thing that we don't necessarily see it or deal with it on a day-to-day basis, well, that's not our problems, right? So that's the whole, like, an example of it is when the textile waste issue blew out of proportion, and now everybody knows about it because all those pictures and news went around, circulated, and people will start to realize that, oh, there is a tangible waste, there is a tangible literal island of our clothing consumptions and like all around the earth. And that then everybody start to focus on it, awareness, petitions and you name it, a lot of active actions start to come into place. A similar thing goes back to the whole supply chain. So it's really ironic. We cannot live without colors. They're everywhere.
We can't live without them.
No,
That's true.
imagine that
makes
tomorrow
sense.
you wake up and everything is just black and white.
Yeah.
it might be kind of artsy for a couple hours, but we're gonna.
I saw your TED Talk, Roya, and that's the other beautiful thing. Roya actually has a beautiful TED Talk, TEDx Youth, I believe.
Yeah.
And if you just look up TED Talks and punch in your name or follow you on Instagram, we can find it. It's an excellent talk.
Thank you.
And you started off beautifully because you started off with, I want you to close your eyes and just imagine a world where there is no color.
Yeah.
And you're on stage wearing all white. I wondered, was that intentional?
Yes. Good eye. Yes. And like I said, it's going to be really fun and artsy.
Well, it'd be a very bleak world.
Yeah.
It'd be very sad.
It's going to be really
I mean,
sad.
nature is filled with colors. And so, I mean, I can't imagine that it's healthy to have a world, like an internal world without color. But then what's the answer? What did you create? You created something pretty powerful.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
So the answer goes back to nature. It's always been like that for me. Even when I was, I don't want it to sound like those cliched sentences that, oh my God, I've been always like this ever since I know myself. But that's true.
You've can't help
it. I've been always like this. So ever since I remember a few of the first memories that I had, I've been always making with living systems and nature. But obviously, as a child, I didn't know what I was doing. Right? I was just I had this extreme curiosity about what would it look like if I put these specific active ingredients that I grab from my backyard and this and that, or like these growing living systems and plants together to push boundaries of what our definition of different things around us. As an example, I am fascinated with scents. Scent is like something that I've always been super interested in, still am. When I was like 5, I think I was making scents from plants and putting them on like my family and friends to see how they would react to it, to kind of push
you were
it.
just like making them at home?
To push perfumes, but like from, obviously at the time I didn't even know what fermentation is or any of that, but like putting those very specific active ingredients and in a certain way that I was doing it, it was kind of very basic level of fermentation.
Right. So you were pulling essential oils. You were creating them out of nature.
Yeah. And then it was more, for me, the curiosity part of it was pushing the understanding or reaction of people and see if this does remind them of certain things, or if so, what is it? And I was, again, 5, like I'm putting it in a better language right now. I'm sure I was not thinking this way at the moment, at that time, but that's essentially what I was doing. Yeah. So now when it goes back to color, and so you mentioned something really interesting, we can't live without them.
Right.
But it's something that we don't even think about the impacts of what our colorful desires really doing to the health of human and the environment.
We don't think about it. I to be honest, until we started researching you and came across the work you're doing, I admit, I've never really, I don't know, anybody here has thought about it. We don't think about it. You just take colors.
You're not alone.
And dyes truly for granted. But it is very eye-opening, just digging into it, how obvious actually it is that these dyes, especially the synthetics and petroleum-based dyes, how of course they're not going to have positive impact on our bodies and on the earth.
No. And again, it's like linear, this like approach of like just like constantly mining the earth for making our product. All of that is just not sustainable. Not sustainable as in a cleanliness aspect of it, but like it's not really like we can't continue this way.
No,
how long more can we really continue doing this? And it's unnecessary. So the answer, as like, we took a long derail to say the answer has been always for me in nature, but then not just about mimicking or just doing what nature is doing. I think the true answer is in a real collaboration with nature. And think about it, as you were saying, these organisms or these ecosystems or this nature's system have been doing it, have been operating in this world really harmoniously and beautifully long before we even existed. So they clearly have a better way of making a balance between beauty and function and not being harmful and everything that we are really after these days to really like combat these issues that we are facing.
Yes.
So I always was really interested in this like multidisciplinary aspect of everything. I can't necessarily say that I'm like one of those people that would be really happy about just like doing one thing. My journey starts in design, because I believe that design can push that performative aspect of all the objects that we interact with on a day-to-day basis. I wanted to use design as a tool to change behavior or push our understanding of why we interact in a certain way with different things. I go through that and I started working with inside like corporations, and I had in mind that, this is the way to be inside a corporation. You can like, with that mindset, you can bring that change that you're really after. And very soon after, I realized that, well, as I'm sure everybody would know, it's not really possible. That was like a very young version of me thinking that way, that I had that power. And then I was
that
like,
you would go into a corporation, just change everything.
Just change it. Like, bring that change with that mindset. And it's going to be slow, but it's going to happen. And I was going to be that rebellious, like kind of person. It doesn't work that way. Sadly, the incorporations or the setups of the systems are not necessarily built for that.
No, they're not. They're really built for, companies are built to just increase shareholder value for the most part.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's actually why we want to have these conversations,
Yes.
because it doesn't have to be that way.
No.
You can actually have profit and you can have purpose. You can do those things as long as you're not focusing just on shareholder value. And
Exactly.
So, okay, but what is Lite-1?
Oh,
what did you
sorry.
do?
I'm going a very, very long way to
What
tell
did
you
you
what's
do?
happening right now.
You did something with color. You created.
I'm pushing your patience.
You created. No. I mean, I know you're going to say it. It's,
No, yes. So
I'll give the listeners a hint. It has to do with algae, and it's just not at all what I thought when I was thinking. Like, I was learning about what it is you did. The truth is, I was kind of shocked, and that's why I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions, because it doesn't make much sense to me. It kind of blew my mind a little, and then I have certain questions about like. Yeah, let's talk about what exactly is this algae-based microorganism? Yes, tell me. What is your product?
Going back to that nature part.
Yes.
Nature has this amazing building blocks of biology that you can essentially build these like manufacturing systems with. So in true collaboration with the microorganisms, the question that popped up like long before like Lite-1 in my head that instigated what I'm doing right now is that what if the future of living is biomanufactured instead of just being manufactured?
Biomanufactured.
What if the future of everything around us is living instead of just being produced? And that goes back to the thinking of everything that's produced by nature is non-toxic. Again, it's very balanced, it's clean, and all there is to it. So I started my journey working with algae. My first love. I cannot tell you how much I love algae.
Okay. Oh, that's a first. I've never heard anyone say that. But,
yeah.
Teach his own.
There's nothing that these tiny little microorganisms
algae
cannot do. It's so powerful. It's just
isn't algae the same thing as mold and fungus? No. Different? Okay. Algae.
It depends on different settings, but I personally don't think that way about it.
You're thinking like algae in the ocean algae?
Yeah, microalgae.
Algae, okay.
So the ones that probably we don't even, like we see it in accumulation. Once they're like in accumulation, like on the ponds and things like that, we see that green tone of the color of the water.
Yeah, isn't that like mildew? The same thing? No.
That's algae. It could be. I can't really like speak to what you saw, but
okay.
but yeah. So basically, that was the first epiphany moment for me to realize that, oh my God, a teeny microorganism is operating in this world a hell of a lot better than what any of us that we consider ourselves being so much smarter than any creature is doing. Okay. So that was that moment that I was like, there it is. This this living systems of the nature, we can use it. Not just use it, sorry. Like I'm highly against it. We can collaborate with it in a way that we're not just taking advantage of, again, nature resources for it to become an issue down the line. We're really like learning from it and implementing those living systems into our approaches of making our products. So that started from there. My first project was a living photosynthetic textile.
A living photosynthetic textile.
Yes.
Okay.
So that project was
like a jacket that was alive?
It was a garment.
Okay,
it was
but
a
what
textile
was
that
it?
could form in any specific
Did you
clothing.
make a dress out of it, or was it just...
I made a few different iterations out of it. It
Okay.
was like a little bit of a cardigan. It was like a t-shirt, and it was like so many
so
different
you were
things that I
able to
made.
actually make textiles out of this?
We made the first proof of concept,
Okay.
yeah. But my intention from that
Ooh,
project...
was it alive?
It was alive.
It was alive?
Yes.
How do you have an alive cardigan? What
That's
do
a
you
great
mean?
question. So my aim was to, again, push the understanding and our behavior. And basically that project was, I never intended for it to become a mass manufactured type of project. It was more of a, what
Proof
I
of
call
concept.
critical design,
Oh,
that I
okay.
wanted to use it to push hopefully like trigger some thoughts in everybody's mind that, hey, why do we consume the way that we consume?
Right.
Because if I tell you that starting tomorrow, the garments that you're wearing, you actually have to take care of them, like how you take care of your pets or children, then, immediately you're going to have a different routine, different habits,
Yeah,
different.
definitely.
You're not gonna just like toss them around and not care for them.
Right.
And maybe even when you're sitting in a very specific spot, you're gonna make sure that, hey, it's not sharp. It doesn't have a sharp edge, or is it going to harm?
You don't
it?
want to kill the living clothing.
Oh my God, you
Yeah,
nailed it.
you
So
don't
the
wanna kill
whole
it.
idea
Although
was...
it's a little bit creepy, I'm not gonna lie. If there's something alive that's like, if my jumper right now was alive, I don't know. How do you wash an alive garment?
So there was like
Carefully?
different care instruction that came with it. So you
Okay.
wouldn't necessarily just like wash it in a wash machine. You had to kind of like submerge it in a specific type of
Okay.
solution for it to remain alive.
And
but
did it feel like this? Did it feel
it felt
like
very
a
normal. It felt like a silk
outfit?
material, like a very
It felt
thin
like a
cotton
silk
silk. Yeah,
material.
it was very real.
Wow.
But guess what?
Huh.
It's going to come down to that aspect of, what if I kill it? That question was supposed to really drive people to really think about what they buy, why they buy it, why are they buying so many? It was supposed to completely fundamentally reverse the aspect of, hey, so-and-so brand has sales for such low prices. Now I'm going to buy this 5 other dresses or shirts or whatever that I didn't even need necessarily just because they're
Right.
cheap. It was supposed to do that because if you think about it, if you have 100 children, it's going to be impossible to take care of them all at the same time and provide them with that, provide them with anything that they need to really like flourish and survive and grow.
Because
And
the mindset is that if you're these garments are live, it's like taking care of your children or
Yes.
taking care of plants.
Exactly.
Taking care. Okay, I
So,
see.
I was playing around with there is a really like amazing philosophy around this. I forgot the name of a gentleman who tossed it first, but the concept of caring with versus just caring for.
Okay.
Because when we care for something, it becomes that band-aid solution that we bring to the world. Hey, suddenly we need a coffee machine that makes our coffee like 5 seconds faster than the last one, and God knows we're gonna need that 5 seconds for, how important it is in our lives. But that's like problem solving, band-aid solution, fast, immediate like solutions to a very like on the surface problem. Versus the concept of caring with touches base on, hey, whatever you bring to the world, you have to constantly care for it to make sure that 10 years from now, 20 years from now, it doesn't turn to be an issue. So you're responsible for everything that you bring to the world and introduce to, everybody around you. So that was playing around with that concept, because if you have to take care of and for this very specific clothing,
Right.
then you probably are not going to have a lot of time to accumulate
I wish
more.
we'd had some samples that we could maybe show. Did you bring anything? No.
No, but that's like that project is kind of like an
that
old
was
project. That was like
older.
a beginning of
The
my
proof of concept.
beginning of like my career in biodesign. So the field
Okay.
of biodesign, for people that's it's their first time hearing it, it
Yeah.
essentially allows the designers or artists from various different fields of discipline to come to science from practice, not necessarily from a degree. So you come with an angle and mindset of a designer that, hey, I understand the gap between consumer needs and the behavior of the consumer. I know what I can bring to the world to create certain demands, but at the same time, how can we balance it out with like, scientific facts and nature again? So that was like my first understanding of it. And this field is so
Did
fascinating.
it go anywhere? The bio design clothing, the textiles?
So that project was called biogarmentry, and like I said, I never intended for it to become like a mass-produced thing. So it
I
was like
see.
actually it's purchased by Museum of Modern Art in Vienna. So it's it's exhibited there right now.
It's living peacefully. The silk blouse
it's
is
living its
living
life.
its life in a museum.
As a growing part of it, it was essentially like the color aspect that, and now we are getting closer to Lite-1 because the color aspect of that project was living, and as you would take a better care for it, it would get greener and it would show you
So-
that lush, beautiful green. So you know that you're
Your
doing a
shirt
good
is
job.
healthy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
okay.
and then you would create that emotional bond with your garment that you wouldn't want to kill it. And if you do, then you're going to start questioning your consumption behavior. And that was my moment to realize that the performative aspect of growing everything around us is so powerful.
Like the perform. Do you mean the experiential aspect of it?
No, I mean what they make us do. So
sorry, I'm
if
not
you know
following.
that your clothes are living
Right.
and alive and you have to take care of them,
Yes.
then like I said, you might
just gonna be
question
more-
where you're sitting.
Right.
You are
You'll be
going to
more
question how you're
careful.
going to take care of them. What if you see people starting like spraying themselves on the
Unless
subway?
you're a sociopath, though, right? Unless you want to harm the clothes. Okay, but
Sure.
assuming you're not, assuming that you do care and you don't want to hurt living beings,
Yeah.
I can see what you mean.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
you'd want to be a lot
in
more
psychology,
careful.
guilt is one of the top 5 drivers of
Oh, is
every
it?
act. Yeah,
Huh.
one of
Didn't
top
know
5.
that.
Yeah,
Guilt is.
guilt is so
That would
that
explain.
was
That would
that.
explain why. No.
Then I realized that, oh my god, this is like epiphany moment that
Yeah.
these living systems and the future of everything is really grown instead of being manufactured. So that was that really like
Very
interesting
interesting.
project that
Yeah.
brought me to Lite-1.
And-
And then with that understanding of seeing the industry and
Yeah.
like really firsthand what they're doing to the environment and people, I could not participate in it anymore. I did not want to. It was like a very heavy guilt on my own shoulders as a designer that I was contributing to those aspects and I did not want to be a part of it. So I started to think about, what if colors were alive? And how would that look like instead of being like manufactured from synthetic, non-renewable resources?
And if we can just go back a sec, when we were talking about that bioengineered textile that you created, and I keep saying the blouse, but I understand
That's
there was a
fine.
few different pieces of clothing. Was it just the color portion that was alive, or was the entire fabric
the
made
entire
from,
fabric.
was made from algae?
Yes. So it was
Oh.
bioengineered in a way that the algae on your skin
Yeah.
would remain alive and,
It didn't die from the processing?
not if you take a good care of it. No. Yeah, that project was like
Really
the instigation of
Growing
the
your-
future of everything is grown.
Yeah.
So why are we not treating one of the biggest polluter part of the supply chain being colorants, which is an invisible, it's very invisible, it's very like bold and visible, but at the same time very invisible part of the supply chain that
colorants,
exactly that, like we
dyes.
said, that nobody thinks
Right.
about.
Nobody
It's
thinks
just,
about
we
it,
just
yeah.
think about what we see in front of our faces,
Yeah.
and if we don't see it in front of us,
Yeah.
it's not our problem.
Gotcha.
But it's a huge problem.
Right.
So then I met my amazing co-founder. She also had a very similar path to biodesign, and we just like really clicked and we started researching into living colors. And right now we're not working with algae. We're working with like different microorganisms that can produce these beautiful, vibrant colors in their own natural being. And we found a way to really scale that and make it perform in a way that the industry wants it to perform
Without
based on our
killing these
experiences.
microorganisms. They're not dying, right?
Well,
some do.
They are. So let's just like go back. Have you about like I guess like a good example of it would be yeast during COVID. Everybody somehow got into like making bread,
growing their own yeast and making bread. Yes, I heard about
exactly.
this. Yeah,
So,
I didn't personally, but I heard it was a thing.
So essentially, like these living organisms, like we are using the microorganisms in this sense, like let's say bacteria.
Okay.
As factories of producing colors. So these tiny organisms.
Sorry, say it again. You're using the bacteria as factories.
As factories.
Oh, so the bacteria is producing all the color.
Exactly.
Oh, I see.
So we found a way to really scale that, make sure that it fits those industry standards, and that's why I told you like my long version of a background, because now it makes sense being in the industry and seeing it and realizing that there won't be any innovation that you just introduce out there and it's going to go in there and completely fundamentally change the whole system. It has to fit their systems, otherwise it's not going to get adapted.
Right.
So all that long journey of me to going around and around and around to get to where I am today was really helpful to understand what the industry needs are, what their qualifications, requirements, like the adaptability process, all of those are, to be able to make our solution really fitting their very specific needs. So right now we work for people that don't know necessarily like anything about fermentation or bioreactors. If you have ever been to breweries or great.
So fermentation's a part of your process.
Oh, I see. So the fermentation is that ideal environment that these tiny little friends of ours love to kind of like produce more of these vibrant colorants for us.
Okay.
So we put them in their ideal living environment.
And they just produce dyes. So the dyes themselves are not living. The dyes are just produced by the microorganisms. Now that makes more sense.
Yeah. So essentially saying that, when I said like, what if colors were living? So that all these questions were like, at the beginning of figuring out how to do it best and how to do it in a way that it can actually make an impact.
Right.
It's not just like a niche, small project.
Yes.
It's capable of bringing this
change. I get it now. I was wondering, I'm like, but are the colors living? Are the colors the microorganisms?
Just like, all these like questions.
Are we wearing bacteria? Is that but the microorganisms, are they bacteria or no?
They're bacteria.
The bacteria are the factories creating the colors.
Yes.
Wow.
We treat them like our true teammates. We want to think that, we're not just using nature.
Right.
We're not constantly exhausting nature for different resources. One of the issues that I personally, not an issue, like a critique that I always had to plant-based dyes is that, it's still like exhausting the environment in a sense that you're let's say extracting it from plants. You have to grow these plants, take care of them. They take a big portion of the land. They take some time, and
they take
pesticides,
they take
resources, and in different cases, those lands and those places become like kind of like not suitable for other crops and other they interrupt the food supply chain as well. So it's not necessarily, although that the final product is sustainable or clean, but the process of making them is not necessarily like the most sustainable one,
right? And
it's not scalable, in a sense, to replace all the colorants in the world that we see.
But this is scalable, I suppose.
Exactly. Yeah. So and instead of doing that, we just create colors at the lab in just a couple of days instead of a few months.
Are you able to create a whole wide array of colors? Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
There are so many organisms out there that are creating these sci-fi beautiful colors that you may not even ever imagine. And this is made from bacteria.
Yeah.
So right now we are focusing on our first group of colorants, black being number one, because black is one of the most toxic and pollutive.
Is it?
Oh my God, yes. It's just like, I'm personally absolutely guilty of consuming a lot of black. I love this color.
I do too.
Oh my wardrobe is classified.
Yeah.
Today, when you guys asked me not to wear something dark, I had the hardest time to to hunt something in my closet.
Oh, I'm with you. I like my black as well. I didn't know it was such a
the residue
toxic
from
colorant.
black is impossible to clean from the environment. Is one of the heaviest chemicals.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Well, what is one of the, if you are just going out there shopping until your product becomes more easily to obtain, what is a color that people can, or some colors that are fairly decent that don't harm the environment as much?
Until Lite-1 becomes a very known tag, so you can really like identify and use it as a measure to know which one of your clothing or like, the products in a sense are colored or dyed with like a true sustainable solution.
Yeah.
Until then, I think plant-based dyes are another option.
Okay.
But the sad part of it right now is that they don't perform as great as, the synthetic ones. And most often you see them in very like light pastel-y colors. A lot of the brands start to do these like limited edition collaborations with plant-based dyes. You still can see them, or made from minerals, plants,
Are you
insects.
safer with things that are just like natural, undyed fabric? And so you see sometimes they're kind of off-white, gray. Is that a safe option?
Off-white is a better option, obviously, because that means that it's less of chemicals, but that's not necessarily always true either, because it really depends on the process that became even white. Because, for example, the shirt that I'm wearing, I'm pretty sure that it has some sort of a white tone into it.
Yes, your shirt, which for our listeners is a black and white shirt.
Oh, let's talk about the white part of it, because the black part is sustainable. That's our own dye.
Oh, you did? This is your dye?
This is Lite-1 dye.
Okay, you know what? If you're listening, this is the time where you should check us out on YouTube, Up to So Good, The Purpose of Business. Look us up on YouTube, or you can look up our website, uptosogoodpodcast.com, and you'll see all the links and to all the players. Because Roya's outfit is absolutely lovely, and the black and white, I noticed your shirt, it feels like a piece of art. And you've got some black splashed on there with the white, and it's incredible that this is actually the byproduct of the microorganisms.
Yes.
So the black is sustainable.
Yes.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
Wow. And the white isn't though?
The white isn't. So we're working on our next group, which white could be included in that.
Did you just buy like a plain white shirt, then you dyed it yourself?
Yes,
Very
that's
nice.
Are you know what? I'm more than capable of making it, but for lack of time.
Is the skirt your color? The skirt is black. Is that also your dye?
Not that one.
Okay.
Just the black on my shirt.
It's interesting because I'm looking at both, and I mean the black is the black is the black. It's indistinguishable.
Exactly.
It's incredible.
That's the whole point, because if you bring on something that is not going to perform to the like standards of the industry, from so many different aspects, performance, the color shade, cost, all of it, then it becomes a niche product. And for us at Lite-1, at the core of everything that we do is to be able to make that big impact.
Right.
Our direction, or our basically, like, the goal is not to become just a very small niche type of luxury scale product out there in the world. We want to make sure that we can replace a lot of the colorants.
That makes a lot more sense.
To be able to make an impact. Like, we are not living in a time anymore that we have luxury of time. Like, it's just not an option anymore. There's not much time left to be able to just play around with things and see what sticks, what doesn't anymore. We have to seriously think about how all these amazing innovations that a lot of people are working on can get adapted, and get adapted really fast and scale real quick to be able to make that change and impact.
Beautiful. Well, now, are you at a stage where people who are listening, if they want to say make their own clothes and dye them, can they reach out to Lite-1?
Not yet, but soon.
I want to do this. I want to make my own clothes and just reach out to you guys and just dye them all myself now.
My co-founder and I started wanted to so deeply do certain workshops, so people can come and really experience it. But life of a startup is quite demanding and prevents a lot of the big dreams like that. But now that our team is growing and we have a little bit more resources, we might as well like do that. So once we do it, I'll definitely keep you in mind.
Definitely message me, text me.
100%.
I want to know. I want to be part of this
Sounds
this
good.
beautiful movement. In researching you, you talked a little bit about your story, and I thought that was quite moving, being in Tehran and seeing the pollution. Can we go back and let's talk about that, because it sounds like that was a real moment for you to want to embrace a sustainable path. So what happened there?
This is even not now. Now is a lot worse, and I haven't been back for some time. But even 13 years ago, or growing up in general, being born and raised in Tehran, there were days that they would announce complete closures because of like air pollution.
You were completely
closures. Like we couldn't go to school, you couldn't go to work because the air quality is so
they would
bad.
close the schools. Oh wow.
Yeah. So. And even in my TED Talk, when I mentioned that you can actually taste the air, I'm not joking. Like
in Tehran, there are times you could taste the air. It
has a bit of a sulfurish kind of like smell and taste into it. I mean, there are really good days as well, especially in like winter time. But like since in summer it's really dry and hot, it gets to like really like extreme levels of pollution. And it was always like, again, like I was one of those kids that I always wanted to do something about all of this. Like I love nature, I love environment, but I didn't know what to do. So again, living organisms and plants has been always like my inspiration. So I wanted to connect them all together. And that goes about like the reasoning behind the living photosynthetic textile, because beside it being living and all the other things that we just talked about, it cleans the air.
So it photosynthesizes. Sorry, going back to the textile, the living photosynthetic, basically the living blouse.
Yes,
was cleaning the air.
Yeah, it's photosynthesizes just like plants do. Right. So it absorbs CO2 and produces oxygen instead, and sugar as byproduct. So basically, that was one of the reasons that I fell in love with algae, because algae can actually clean the air a lot faster than a very old mature tree can do. I forgot the number, but I think it was around like so much faster than a tree can do in a very short period of time. So yeah, that was like essentially like the reason behind like me always believing that one single discipline is not really capable of solving these deep complex issues that we are all facing on its own alone. In order for solutions to become meaningful and really fundamentally introducing any shift or change, we need multidisciplinary perspective. We need multidisciplinary collaborations. We need everybody to come together from perspectives, experiences, and all of that. So yeah, that's that inspiration. Also, my mom, like the other part of the whole thing is like my mom was a fashion designer. So growing up, I've been always exposed to these beautiful, colorful fashion, and listening to her interactions with her clients and all of that. So I loved fashion. So I always wanted to be a designer, because I saw this big power and impact that design and designers have if they use it in a right way.
Fashion design specifically.
In general design, because designers in general have this really big power to use it as a tool to change something. Why I'm saying this? Because they create the demand before consumers know they even need something. So all these things that we see in the world, regardless of it being a garment or a product or any kind of designed thing, they are thought about 2, 3, 4 years in advance minimum. So they are creating the new trend. They're creating the new behavior around consumption every time that they're introducing a new item to the world. So I think with that comes a lot of power to be used in the right way.
I think, our company, All Purpose, we're a UX, UI design house as well. We're a creative agency. And I would say that that is definitely one way that things are designed. However, there's even greater power when you're designing with the user in mind.
Yes.
And when you're tapping what the actual needs are of the consumer or the person, and designing with that in the forefront. So it seems to me that you're designing with sustainability in mind, and that's beautiful, but still considering the fact that we do need color.
Yeah.
And it's such a powerful industry. I saw somebody wrote a comment on your YouTube feed or something, and it said, "Not game changer, universe changer." I was like, yeah, I like that.
That was great. Yes, I forgot about that. Yes,
but it's definitely. Has anyone else come across this, or is this purely patented technology by Lite-1?
There are handful amount of like startups that are working on a concept of dyes and colorants and finding different ways to make it sustainable and clean. And frankly, this industry is so big that just like, even if Lite-1 becomes the giant,
there's so much room for everyone.
Exactly.
Still.
Like we need, and that mindset in its own is wrong.
Yeah.
I don't think, obviously we have a strong differentiator. Our technology is patented on so many different levels and aspects of it, but we have to stop thinking about like one solution hitting it all.
Oh yeah, I agreed.
Like I said, we don't have time on our side anymore to think that way.
Yeah.
In an ideal, dreamy world, I would love to see how at some point all of us could come together and collectively really like address the solution, because it's a lot bigger than every single one of us.
Absolutely. And maybe we can all contribute.
Yay.
If we put our minds together. And so now like let's fast forward to this moment, and you've got this shirt with the dyes that Lite-1 has created. And given that your mom was a fashion designer, is that where you want to focus some of this? Is that one of the focuses, is fashion?
We are starting with textiles, but we already have tested our colorants and dyes in multiple different industries, and they apply to anything that you see. So there is no limit.
Furniture,
food,
are they
ink,
consumable?
Paints, yes.
Yeah. Paint,
cosmetics,
fantastic,
and you name it. Yeah.
And so when do we get to, as consumers, pull the trigger and tap Lite-1 to help us select colorants and dyes?
Yeah, so to that level, we are a couple years like to get to that exact level that any consumer can actually like really go and experience it and purchase it.
Will you be B2C really, or are you just B2B?
We're going to be completely B2B. However, we have some exciting news for some of the recent collabs and partnerships that we are doing that I can't quite like announce at this very moment. Our marketing strategist would like kill me.
Okay,
but basically. There is a different face of it that people can purchase them and experience them very shortly.
Oh my goodness! How soon?
Can't comment.
You have to text me when this happens.
I will definitely text you.
I want to buy the biodegradable dyes.
Would love for
I'm biodegradable too.
I want to see your future podcast. Like you all are also wearing something that's dyed with Lite-1.
Oh, I would love that.
Yeah.
It would be great to have like
let's hook you up.
All these clothes that are dyed by Lite-1. Every time we have a new guest on here that has an innovative product or experience, I would say that it's you can't help but be impacted. Mm-hmm. You can't help. But we had Rana.
Yes.
Chivo,
Rana's amazing.
She's amazing, and her podcast episode we talked about plastics. Mm-hmm. So to the listeners, if you're listening and you want to listen, it's in the first couple of podcasts that we released, and she created a thin type of a plastic using seaweed. But I cannot get that episode out of my mind, and now everywhere I look and see plastics, I'm very wary of and mindful of them. Yeah. And so now thanks to you, thanks a lot, Roya, and now thanks to you. Every time we see colors, I can't help but think we'll be mindful of, oh, goodness. Okay, well, those dyes, they're affecting us. Mm-hmm. And especially your skin, when you're wearing things.
Garments are our second skin. They're the closest thing on our day-to-day interactions that we have with anything because they're on us the whole day. But you also mentioned something that I want to touch base. Sure. You talked about the user experience and, what the needs are, the consumers really. Mm-hmm. And I think... And also you said, oh, now I can't look at any colorful thing without thinking about the damages or any most of these things that we talked about. But that's the power of consumer. So if anybody listening to this starts for 5 seconds before purchasing anything, questioning where it's really coming from, how is it going to impact that? How is that very tiny, small purchase is going to impact in a whole context of, mm-hmm. consumer demand? Mm-hmm. Then I think that is going to help all of us as innovators mm-hmm. because the demand comes from the consumers puts the pressure on the industry and regulations and the
Yes,
governments to
true.
really change something.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And we can all join forces and put that pressure up together.
Let's do it.
And if people want more information, of course, they can go to your website,
Yes.
Which is...
It's Lite-1, LITE-1.bio.
Well, I want to thank you so much, Roya. This has been such an enlightening episode. Scary. I know I'm going to have, I'll be thinking about this for a while. And, before we end, I was just going to say, part of the reason I stopped dyeing my hair about 5-6 years ago, just because it was this eye-opening moment of, for a lot of reasons, but the chemicals that we're putting on our hair every 2-3 weeks.
Yep.
I mean, can you imagine? And yet so many in society, we're afraid of getting older and we use color to hide our natural hair color. And my mom always said that, a higher power is a great artist.
Oh,
That
I love
the coloring
that.
that you were born with is actually
Yes.
perfect for you.
I love your hair.
Oh, thanks. There's
That's
no
what
hair
I said
dye.
at the beginning. I think
Natural.
I've seen you around, and the thing that I remember is that, oh my God,
non-toxic
the hair
hair.
is so beautiful. So
very
you're
kind.
absolutely right. The natural beauty that you're born with is the most beautiful form of it.
And in these little things that we can all do, they accumulate.
Yes.
They do make a difference. So thank you for enlightening us about colors, colorants, dyes, in the clothes we wear, in the food we eat, just everywhere. It's so important for us to be thinking about it. And so really appreciate you. Really excited to hear and connect and continue to be updated about the progress of Lite-1 and the innovations that you all make.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. And it's been really fun. And I wish everybody a clean, colorful journey.
Oh, that's nice. A clean, colorful journey. Thanks so much for joining us. And that's all the time we have today. And for more information, check out our website, uptosogoodpodcast.com. Or you can also look at us on YouTube if you want to take a look at Roya's lovely shirt. Again, you want to look up Up to So Good, The Purpose of Business on YouTube, and you'll find us there. Otherwise, I hope you all have a great afternoon, a colorful but healthy, colorful day.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's show. Thank you so much for joining us. And if you've enjoyed the show, please subscribe, hit the like button, or share an episode. And if you have any feedback, questions, or comments, or show ideas, you can email us directly at hello@allpurpose.io. Thank you once again for joining us. We'll see you next time.